This is Scott Alexander with The Conversation, and today I'll be talking with Arvetta Sinkford from AllOverCreditProblems, credit repair specialist, mother, and friend. How you doing today, Arvetta?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. Anybody would be glad to hear one of the things that you said to me when we first got on the phone is you love talking about credit. So I love hearing that. That speaks about passion. I just want to briefly say how we met, just to get the conversation started. I met you through my partner, Matthew, and you were a qualified buyer. And one of the things that he was telling me, just relayed the story, that when you first started, when you guys came together, you were looking to buy a house. And he brought some of the programs and things like that. And he mentioned that at one point something happened with your credit and you needed some kind of help, and that's how he got back into doing a little bit of the credit repair stuff and trying to get that deal closed for you. You know, because just as an aside for us, that's what we do. No matter what it is, if we start working with you, we try to close the deal no matter what. But tell me a little bit about that experience and just the initial working with him and get the credit together so you guys can close that deal.
Yeah, so I met Matthew. Actually, I met Matthew on an online thing. I was looking online for some houses or whatever, and I came across a house that I really liked. And at the time, my credit was okay. It was good enough I thought it wasn't good enough to get a mortgage. And then when I got with Matthew, he was like, your credit is good. You know, you ain't got to do no land contracts and all of that. And I'm like, really? Da-da-da-da-da. So I ended up getting another house because this house was actually a house in Detroit. And what I ended up doing, he ended up getting me a house in East Point because he was like, you don't need no land contract. You good or whatever. And so that's how me and Matthew got in contact with the house in East Point, my first home.
So was that the thing that made you want to get into credit repair? Just your experience and having that turn around?
What happened, how I got into credit repair was, like you said, I ended up reaching back out to Matthew after I had already had my home I had been in the house that he sold me first for 5 years. And so I ended up going through a financial situation, and I ended up going to lose my home to foreclosure. And so I ended up reaching out to Matthew because at this point I was so stressed of losing my house to foreclosure that I didn't know what to do, and I waited till the last minute to reach out to Matthew because, you know, you be so – if people know about your financial – problems, you scared to reach out to anybody because, I got this great job and now I'm about to lose my house to foreclosure. I didn't know what to do. I was just going to just sit and wait for it to be lost, basically. And so I ended up reaching out to Matthew about my house and the status it was in. And, I mean, he took control of getting my house and getting it on the market and getting it sold where I didn't actually lose my house to foreclosure, but I ended up having to move or whatever. So how my journey started is that I knew I couldn't get another home right now. My scores at that point was at a 499. And I knew that I couldn't get another home. As you know, when you're trying to rent an apartment, they look at your credit score. I couldn't get apartment. I couldn't get nothing, okay? So I ended up moving back in with my mother until I could work on my credit. So I ended up reading a lot of books on credit, trying to really study what drives the credit scores, what lowers the credit score. I mean, I just did a lot. And then I started creating my letters to try to get things removed. And I didn't have no money to pay nobody off, pay collection accounts off and medical bills I had on there, that some co-pays and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't have any money for that. I just lost, I just had to sell my house. So as I was fixing my, writing the letters trying to fix it, I went through my trials and tribulations. I wanted to quit because it wasn't working. I'm like, oh, God, they not removing this stuff off my credit. But the more that I became more knowledgeable, the better I was getting with my letters. And stuff was falling off. I mean, late payments on my car. I had so many late payments on my car because I was trying to save my house that I was letting the car get behind. My car had even got repo, and then I had to pay the money to get it back. Okay? So I had so many late payments because I'm trying to save the house, but in the meantime, trying to save the house, I was losing my car.
Yeah, that's a delicate balance sometimes between, you have to choose between living and driving. And it's like one person you can hold off for a little bit here. It's like what do you call that? I can't even think of the analogy, but it's basically like where you give somebody a little bit to keep them cool for a second. You got your plate spinning. That's what it is. You got some plate spinning.
Yes. So I ended up getting my vehicle back and selling the house. So as I was getting more better with the letters, more knowledgeable, I was writing the letters and stuff was getting removed. Okay. I was like, oh my God, I got all the late payments off my car. And after I seen all the late payments, that was my first big win, was getting all the late payments removed off of my vehicle. And so just by me getting that removed, it was like a 50, 60 point increase in my credit. At this point now, I'm like at a 520, 530 because I was at a 499 when I started. So at this point, I was like at a 520, 530. Oh, my God. And I was happy. So just for me doing that, it made me more into it. Like, okay, it can be done, And then as I kept writing the letters, stuff was coming off, which was increasing.
What made you transition into getting into helping other people? Like, what was the thing that just sparked and said, you know what, I do this for myself. I can help somebody else do this.
So I ended up getting everything removed off my credit. Everything. And I was so addicted to it that I was like, man, I need to help somebody. I want to do somebody else's. So I would, because I had nothing more to do on mine. So it was like, dang, I want to do somebody else. Let me see if my skills is good enough. You know what I mean? I knew I got it off mine, but I never looked at anybody else's credit report, So I ended up reaching out to some of my friends and some of my family. As you know, some people be thinking like, she ain't gonna be able to do it. You just did yours. That's it. Da, 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 da. They wouldn't even let me work on theirs at first. So I said, dang, I wanted to do it so bad that I ended up putting a Facebook ad out on Facebook that I would do free credit repair, and I was taking 50 people to do credit. So I wanted to see and my mama thought I was crazy. She was like, girl, ain't nobody about to let you fix their credit. You don't even know them. And I said, well, if I could do it, I'm gonna put an ad out on Facebook and see if, somebody will buy it, basically. And when I tell you that ad went viral, that I had to stop the ad because I had well over 50 people to fix their credit. And these was people that I didn't even know. And I'm like, wow. So I ended up taking on 50 people and in increments. I couldn't do them all at the same time because it's a lot to credit repair. So I ended up taking 25 first and then the next 25 at a later date. So I took my first 25 on and it was falling off their credit. I'm like, I am good.
Do you have any standout stories of things that you didn't think that the person came to you with a problem or something serious?
So I had a guy who had he didn't have much. He had things on his credit report that were all negative accounts. So he didn't have any any current things like he was paying a car note or paying a house note. He had no open account. Those are open accounts. Mm-hmm. And so when I got all his things deleted off of his credit report, his credit score, he was when he first started with me, he was like a 550. Okay, so he had nothing but negative accounts. So I removed all the negative accounts off his credit report, and his score went to 0. And I was like, so now you know I'm new at this point, so I'm thinking to myself like, oh Lord, he had a 0. He had a 0.
I never heard that. I never even heard that before. So, somebody can get a 0 in credit?
Yes, he was at a 0 because he had no nothing reporting to the credit report. It was, even though he had all negatives, that was at least something that was reporting to the credit report. But now that I removed all the negatives from the credit report, it made him a 0 because he didn't have any open account, any open things on his credit report. So at this point, I'm nervous. I'm like, oh Lord, his score has been dropped to a 0. You know, I'm like, oh Lord. Okay, so I got to doing more reading because, you know, I'm new at this point. So I'm like, okay, ain't nothing bad about getting all negative remarks. So now he's at a rebuilding stage right now. So we have to rebuild his credit. So I use some of my little tricks that I have to open up new accounts or whatever to his credit report. I used one of them, and he actually ended up getting a card. So once he got that card, his credit score increased to a 650 in a matter from a 0 to he went to a 650.
See, hey, so, you know what? That's the name of your first book right there. 0 to 650.
Yeah.
A credit report journey.
But at the time, I was
patent pending.
I was nervous because the score dropped to a 0. I was really like, oh my God, what am I about to do? Okay. But yeah, so that was like
amazing though. That's cool.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest. That was like, I want to say one of my scariest moments because I was like, oh Lord, he is at a 0. But
oh man, that's news to me. I never even knew that you could get a 0 on that.
Me, the spot.
But let me ask you this. I was looking through your Facebook fan page, your Facebook page, the All Over Credit Problems. And one of the things that I was impressed with is that you spend a lot of time engaging with the group, and it's like, hey, ask me a question. It's almost like you begging, like, hey, somebody, ask me a question, you know. And occasionally people will chime in and stuff like that. Has there been, like, what was the last valuable lesson that you learned as a result of your interactions online?
Well, through the interactions online, one of the valuable lessons that I learned was a lot of times, because I had a guy who has never knew nothing about credit. And I guess I just thought people know something about credit. You know what I mean? So what I learned was everybody is not taught about credit scores, about building a relationship with your credit union. You know, don't jump from bank to this bank. You want to have that personal relationship with your banking institution. So I had a guy who just did not know how to open a bank account, didn't know how to, he didn't even know how to get into a privacy guard or a credit monitor system. So he didn't know anything about credit because he was never taught about credit. Like, he knows nothing about credit. So what we did was, what we're doing right now, we started a Google Classroom now. So it's not up and running yet. So he's like a test trial and see how it works inside of the Google Classroom. So we're teaching him how to open up his privacy guard, you know, how to get the monitoring systems, how to open up the bank account. Just teaching him how to do these certain things that he just never was taught, or, just giving him some insight on credit scores. You know what I mean? What you're going to look, what are you looking for in a credit score? I mean, basic stuff to us, it seemed basic, but everybody wasn't taught about that. You know what I mean? He's never had a bank account.
Yeah. You know what? You're making me realize that I've got a 19-year-old here with me that I haven't been as diligent as I need to be when it comes to teaching him about credit. I think I got your second student waiting online for you. Because it's like, you're sitting here talking about that, and I'm saying, you know what? I haven't taught my son about this, to not to that degree. And I sit here on all this knowledge, like you say,
Yep, and you know what? A lot of us, we don't. We do not think about it. And, I mean, I never taught my daughter as well until now. Until she sees, I think my daughter is going to do great, better than me, about her credit, because that's what she's hearing all day. You know what I mean? She hearing credit. And she actually had in school, they had a financial class, and my daughter aced it because she heard me talk about credit, and it was asking stuff about the credit bureau in this test that she had, and she aced it because of me. You know what I mean? Because that's what she hearing all day about credit, balancing your checkbooks, and so I remember having those classes in school, and I didn't take them serious at all. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the emphasis, I took a little bit of class like that in school too, and it's just sometimes it's just the way you're taught, If it's not brought to you down to your level where you can fully grasp it, it just doesn't sink in. Because there's 150 things going on in these kids' lives every day that don't even include us, stuff that we don't even know about, prep we never had to deal with. It seems weird to say that, but it's like they dealing with things that we didn't have to deal with. It's a different world for them. And it's like just that level of understanding to know that, okay, sometimes you have to just take a step out and say, I'm going to teach you this because you need to know this. And I'm glad she's learning. That's cool. One of the things I want to do with you after this call is I want to get together with you at least once a week so we can just kind of have a conversation and answer some questions and talk a little bit more about this type of thing, because people need to understand about credit, and I like the way you present your information. Now, what's the most important thing someone interested in improving their credit needs to do absolutely first? Like,
the first thing you want to do is you want to get your credit report. You can go on. A lot of people have Credit Karma. Credit Karma is not as accurate, but you can, get a snippet of what your credit is looking like, but it is not accurate. You want to get you a monitoring system. You can also go on the annual creditreport.com and get a free copy of your credit report, but that does not come with the scores. But you can see what's actually on your credit report. But we use Privacy Guard. You can do privacyguard.com. That's a monitoring system. They do have a $1 free trial, so you can get your credit report and see what's on there, see what your scores are like. You could do myfico.com. You got scoresense.com. So there's plenty of monitoring systems out there.
Okay. Now, as far as people working with you directly, how can they get started with you?
Well, all you have to do is AllOverCredit.com. That is the link that you would use to join the group. Right now, we have where you can get in as a free trial, and then after that is a $9.95 charge a month. Once you pay in to join, then you will receive what we have is a welcome packet. It's a PDF file welcome packet. And what this welcome packet is that we show you step by step everything you need to do from point A to Z. And so the group is used to, if you got questions, because of course, sometimes, you send one letter, this may happen, and then we guide you on the next thing that you need to do. So by you having the welcome packet, you know that, okay, you have to send this one letter first. After you send this one letter, then you wait and see what the results is. Then in that welcome packet, it'll tell you the next step to do. If you get this result, this is what you want to send. If they come back with this is what you send. And so the group is like it is basically like an add-on. So you having the group to be able to further assist you if you run into issues. And then we use a lot of things in the group as we have different tactics for different things. Like if you want to do a settlement on a certain account, if somebody taking you to court. We have one girl who being taken to court or whatever. So we kind of try to guide you. No, we're not lawyers of any kind or anything like that. So, but we kind of guide you.
Good to say that.
we try to guide you on what you need to see. First step, second step, third step.
Okay.
That's it.
That sounds really good. I knew you were doing something over there, and I'm glad to see it's been coming together. Because that sounds excellent.
Yeah, and the reason I started the group instead of me just fixing your credit was because to me it's a mindset. You know what I mean? I was fixing people's credit and they just be back in the same situation.
I know what you're saying. Sort of like when you win the lottery, like winning a whole bunch of money doesn't make you good with money. It just makes you have a whole bunch more of it to spend. And so that's why a lot of people who win the lottery don't end up happy and healthy and wonderful, because they weren't taught how to deal with all that money. So you're teaching people how to deal with getting good. It's like, because having great credit is like a little winning lottery ticket, because there's a lot of doors that open up for you. So it's like, now I'm giving you this lottery ticket, and here's how you use it, use the money that you're going to be able to get and have access to wisely. So that's great. That is excellent.
It creates a better mindset, because now the people in the group, they're becoming addicted. You know what I mean? So I wanted them to feel that same passion that I felt when I fixed my credit. So now you're doing it yourself, and you're going to have the same passion, which you're going to want to help your mother, your sister, your father, your brother, your cousin. It's going to give you that drive.
Well, where can people find you? Tell me your addresses one more time.
All Over Credit Problems is the Facebook page. AllOverCredit.com is where you would pay to join. And then the email address is allovercreditproblems@gmail.com. The phone number is 586-275-7656.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you talking with me today, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thanks again, Arvetta, for a great conversation.
Oh, you're welcome, Scott. Talk to